So for your 7-5 homework, you have to answer these trig equations, and you're given your answer in principal values. So principal values for sine and tangent means that you're looking at first and fourth quadrant from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, or from negative 90 degrees to positive 90 degrees. For cosine, you'll look at the first and second quadrant from 0 to 180. So let's look at what that looks like here. So, like for example, I'm going to start with the ones in degrees down here. So if we're looking at the ones that are in degrees, our first question says, find where sine of theta is negative 1/2. So sine is your y coordinate, so you're looking all around the unit circle right here. Oops, wrong one, sorry. Right here, sine is negative 1/2, and right here, sine is negative 1/2. But if we're solving for principal values, we're only allowed to look in the first and second quadrant for sine and cosine. For sine and tangent. So we're only looking in these quadrants. So this is our only answer, which we see is 330 degrees. But 330 degrees is not between negative 90 and positive 90. It's bigger than 90. So instead of giving if you're in this fourth quadrant, instead of giving the value as what's written on your unit circle, you're going to give the negative unit circle values. So this right here is negative 30 degrees. So like if you subtract 360 from 330, you get negative 30. So we would have negative 30 degrees would be the answer for number 9. If we look for cosine of theta equals negative 1, cosine of theta is going to equal negative 1. Cosine is your x-coordinate. Cosine of theta, let me erase this stuff. Cosine of theta is going to equal negative 1 right here. And that's the only place on the unit circle. So from 0 to 180 for cosine, so we're going to give our answer as 180 degrees. For 11, or let's skip on down to 12. So for number 12, this one's looking for tangent, and tangent's harder to find because tangent is not on the unit circle. But for tangent to be 1, we're looking at sine over cosine. So like at 0 degrees, sine over cosine is 0 over 1. So that's definitely not it. At 30 degrees, we'd have to do 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I know it's not negative 1. Right here at 45 degrees, I would have square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2. That would give me positive 1. So that should be a hint that we'll be looking at these 45-degree increments right here. And so if you look at the unit circle right here, sine is going to equal negative, and tangent will equal negative 1, because you'll have square root of 2 over 2 over negative square root of 2 over 2, which will give you negative 1. And also right here in the fourth quadrant. But for tangent, we're only supposed to look in the first and the fourth quadrant. So we're not going to use this answer if we're doing principal values. We're going to use this one down here. But 315 is not between negative 90 and 90. So rather than giving our answer as 315, we're going to give our answer as negative 45 degrees. So the answer here for this one is negative 45 degrees. Let's get back up to the problems that ask for radians. So if we're looking at the problems that ask for radians here, if I have a problem like, let's say number 2. Number 2 says cosine of 1/2, or cosine equals 1/2. So if you look at the unit circle, cosine equals 1/2. Cosine is your x-coordinate. Cosine equals 1/2 right here. And cosine also equals 1/2 right here. But for cosine, my principal values are between 0 and pi, or 0 and 180. So I'm just looking right here. And whenever it says 0 to 180, it means in this direction. So like you might think, well, this is between 0 and 180 this way, but it's not. It means counterclockwise direction. So our only answer that we would have is right here at 60 degrees, or pi over 3. So we'll say pi over 3. And let's do one more. Let's do cosine of negative square root of 2 over 2. So cosine of negative square root of 2 over 2, we're looking for where our x-coordinate is negative square root of 2 over 2. And so x-coordinates right here, our x-coordinate is negative square root of 2 over 2. And here, our x-coordinate is negative square root of 2 over 2. But for cosine, we only look from 0 to pi. So this is our answer right here, 3 pi over 4. If you're finding principal values, you will never give an answer from the third quadrant. And if you give an answer from the fourth quadrant, you're going to use negative values. First quadrant is always a possibility. Second quadrant is only a possibility for cosine.